Okay, I want you to do something for me. Close your eyes for a second.
Oh,
Well, obviously, keep them open if you're driving or, operating heavy machinery. We don't need any insurance claims.
right.
But if you can, safely, just picture heaven. What comes to mind?
I can tell you what usually comes to mind. It's all soft focus lenses, fluffy clouds,
Harps, maybe.
maybe some harps playing somewhere in the background, yeah. It's a very vague, peaceful, but ultimately nebulous state of mind. It's almost never solid.
Exactly. It's ethereal. It's just somewhere else. But what if you had a map?
A map.
And I don't mean a metaphorical map of the soul's journey or something like that. I mean a literal map with, like, galactic coordinates, light-year distances from Earth, specific population census data, and a layout of the local real estate.
Okay, that is a very, very different proposition.
Right.
That turns a feeling into a destination. And that is exactly what we are looking at today.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are unpacking a really fascinating and, frankly, just startlingly specific text. It's titled, Where is the Heaven? And it was written by Shufeng. This piece dates back to March 25, 2007, and it's associated with the Life Genuine group.
And we should probably set the table here right away. We aren't here to debate theology or, to tell you what to believe. If you've been with us before, you know that's not our style at all.
Not at all.
Our mission is to explore the sheer specificity of this text. It's
Yeah.
just so rare to find spiritual writing that reads like a NASA briefing.
That is the hook for me, the specificity. Usually when you read about the afterlife, it's all poetry. It's about the soul finding rest. But this is a cosmological blueprint. The author is describing heaven not as a metaphor, but as a place with an address.
It's a synthesis that just catches you completely off guard. You have these deep spiritual concepts, freedom, the soul, eternity, but they're described using the language of astronomy and geography.
Yeah.
We're talking distances in light years, solar system mechanics, hard numbers. It treats the afterlife like a physics problem.
It feels almost sci-fi in its precision.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's get into the weeds. According to this text, most of us use the word heaven incorrectly, or maybe way too broadly.
Right. The text starts by demanding we define our terms.
Hmm.
Shufang argues that the kingdom of heaven is actually a blanket term. It's like saying the Americas.
Okay.
It covers 3 very distinct locations. It's not just one place you go. It's a tiered system.
So it's more like a catalog of destinations.
Yes, exactly.
And we have the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, and the Elysium Celestial Islands continent.
Those are the 3. And while they are different locations, and we're talking literally different planets or dimensions, they all share a core characteristic.
Which is?
Well, the text identifies this as the quality of life.
The source puts this in a really appealing way. It says the defining feature is freedom, but I appreciated that it didn't just leave it at freedom in this abstract sense. It gets very specific about what you are free from.
And this list, it hits hard because it highlights just how much maintenance being a human actually requires.
Right.
In these worlds, the inhabitants are free from the struggles of food, clothing, shelter, and transportation. They're free from disease, from war, and from sudden disaster.
If you remove those things, you've basically just removed 99% of human anxiety. Think about it. Why do we wake up stressed?
A mortgage.
Mortgage, rent, the commute, the price of groceries.
Yeah, catching the flu right before a vacation.
Exactly. If you remove that biological imperative to survive, to feed and shelter the body, you completely change the fundamental structure of existence. The source describes the life forms in these worlds as having non-material structures.
And they're described as being more perfect than human bodies.
That phrase, non-material structure, is so interesting because usually when we hear non-material, we think of ghosts or wisps of smoke.
Right, something transparent.
But the text treats these beings as having agency and society and a location. They aren't just floating energy, they are inhabitants.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Because they don't have these material needs. That biological engine doesn't need constant fueling. The way they exist is just fundamentally different. Their work isn't about survival.
So, okay, let's travel to the first stop on the tour. The 1,000-year world. If I'm looking at the star chart, where am I pointing my telescope?
Well, you'd better pack a lunch, but in cosmic terms, it's practically next door. According to the text, the 1,000-year world is a celestial body located exactly 960 light years away from Earth.
960, that's so specific. It's not beyond the veil. It's a measurable distance.
The text certainly presents it that way, and it's not just a rock. It's massive. It states it is 10 times the size of the Earth.
10 times. And it's inhabited.
Heavily, but not densely, considering that size. The text here reads like a census report. It claims the thousand-year world is currently inhabited by approximately 200 million people.
200 million. That's roughly the population of Brazil, but you're spreading it out over a planet 10 times the size of Earth.
Yeah, you wouldn't exactly be fighting for a parking space.
A lot of legroom.
Plenty. And the name thousand-year world is literal. It refers to the lifespan. The inhabitants there live for about 1,000 Earth years.
Wow. That's a significant upgrade. Imagine what you could get done in 1,000 years.
I know.
That's enough time to see civilizations rise and fall. You could master a dozen careers.
It completely changes your relationship with time.
No.
But if you think 1,000 years is impressive, the next tier up is a quantum leap. Let's look at the 10,000-year world.
This is the middle tier.
Correct. And this is where the scale just gets difficult to wrap your head around. This world is located 3,480 light years away.
3,480 light years. And the size.
16 times bigger than Earth. But the most striking detail for me wasn't the size or the distance, it was the lighting situation.
Oh, I remember reading this part and having to reread it.
Yeah.
The text says it is equidistant from 16 suns that surround it.
Just try to visualize the physics of that. 16 suns, it implies a world without shadows. Or maybe a world with this constant, shifting, complex interplay of light and color that we can't even imagine.
Yeah.
It just paints this picture of an environment that is constantly illuminated.
A place where the sun literally never sets. That sounds intense.
Yeah.
Who lives in this 16-sun paradise?
About 100 million beings. And the text compares them to the land celestial beings described in Taoism. And as the name suggests, the lifespan here jumps dramatically. We aren't talking 1,000 years anymore. They live for about 35,000 Earth years.
35,000 years. That is barely comprehensible. I mean, think about our entire human history. From the first cities in Mesopotamia to right now, we're talking, what, maybe 6,000 years?
Yeah, exactly. So one lifetime in this world spans multiple cycles of human history.
You would have time to master every instrument, read every book ever written, learn every language, and you'd still have 30,000 years left over.
It almost sounds exhausting if you approach it with a human mindset.
That's the key, isn't it? The human mindset. It really reframes the purpose of a life. On Earth, so much of our drive is fueled by the scarcity of time.
The rush.
The rush to make something of yourself before you die. If you have 35,000 years, that anxiety just vanishes. You can just be. The concept of ambition would have to completely change.
Totally.
So we have these two physical worlds, or at least worlds with coordinates in our galaxy. But then the text shifts gears. We get to the third tier, the Elysium world. And this is where the cosmology gets really complex.
It does.
It stops being about over there
Yeah.
and starts being about dimensions.
Yes, this is the big picture segment. The source introduces a really helpful analogy to explain the relationship between our world and Elysium. Because if it's just another planet, why can't we see it? So, Siwefeng asks us to imagine a single sheet of paper.
Okay, picturing a sheet of paper.
The world we live on, the Earth universe, is the front side of that paper. The Elysium world is the reverse side.
I love this analogy because it explains the proximity. We tend to think of heaven as up there or far away or, in the clouds. But this suggests it's right here, just on the flip side.
Precisely. The text says we can never access it unless we pass through the paper to the back. It also mentions that Earth is actually within the realm of the Elysium world spatially. We're occupying the same space, just in a different dimension or frequency.
So it's layered. We're sitting in the middle of it, but we're stuck on the front of the page. But then, true to form, he doesn't just leave it as a mystical dimension. He gives us the hard math on how this whole universe is structured.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to say, this hierarchy is dense.
It is. It describes the Paradise universe as a Taiji ellipsoid, also called a law rotary galaxy. To break it down, it's sort of a Russian nesting doll situation.
Okay, walk us through the layers, because I got lost around the second galaxy type.
Okay, stick with me. One law rotary galaxy contains 3,000 rotary river galaxies.
Check. That's the first nesting doll.
Inside each of those rotary river galaxies, there are 3,000 Milky Way-type galaxies.
Okay, so we're getting smaller, but the numbers are getting much bigger.
Right. And then within each Milky Way-type galaxy, there are 3,000 solar systems.
That is a lot of multiplication.
It is. When you run the numbers, you end up with a structure made of 3,000 macro worlds, 9 million medium worlds, and 27 billion small worlds like our own.
27 billion small worlds. Wow. It makes you feel a little insignificant, doesn't it?
It does.
But also strangely connected. Like we're just one tiny node in this massive, highly organized system.
I think that's the feeling the text wants to evoke. That the universe isn't chaotic or empty, it's teeming, it's structured, and it's intentional. It argues against the idea of a random cold universe where life is just an accident.
So within this huge Elysium world, there is specific geography. The text lists 10 specific continents. They call them the Pure Land or Buddha Land.
And the names are quite evocative. You have the Lotus Continent, the Borneo Continent, the Moon Temple Continent.
The Supreme Authentic Wisdom Continent. That sounds like a place where the entrance exam is tough.
Right.
I feel like you have to have read a lot of philosophy to get a visa for that one.
Or where you get a very serious headache just trying to order coffee. But the text focuses specifically on continent number 6, the Celestial Islands continent.
Right. This is the destination. The source says this is explicitly where the Life Genuine group guides people. So let's look at the brochure for the Celestial Islands continent. What are we dealing with here?
We are dealing with an archipelago on a cosmic scale. The text reports there are 80 billion islands in this continent alone.
80 billion. Just islands.
Yes. And here's the fascinating part, the vacancy rate. Currently, 30 billion of those islands are inhabited or homesteaded by what the text calls super celestial beings, Buddhas, and bodhisattvas.
Okay, simple math time. 80 billion minus 30 billion.
Yeah.
That leaves 50 billion islands.
50 billion islands that are currently vacant, uninhabited.
Talk about a buyer's market. That is the ultimate vacation home availability.
It is staggering, but think about the implication. Usually when people talk about heaven, it's this crowded chorus of angels or a family reunion where everyone you ever known is crammed into one room. It feels so busy.
Yeah, a lot of depictions of the afterlife feel like a crowded cocktail party that just never ends.
But this image, billions of empty islands just waiting for inhabitants, it's actually kind of serene. It's almost lonely in a beautiful way.
It emphasizes potential. It suggests that the kingdom of heaven isn't some finished static club that's hard to get into because it's already full.
No, it's a vast, open frontier. It's waiting for people.
Like the Wild West.
But without the dust and the danger, just endless opportunity.
But getting there,
Yeah.
that's the trick, right? Because if there are 50 billion empty spots, why aren't we all there?
And this brings us to the philosophical and honestly the most challenging part of the text.
Right. Because up until now, it's been very descriptive. Maps, numbers, sizes. Now it pivots to the how and the why.
And Sui Fang addresses a very common modern idea here. You hear this all the time. Heaven and hell are in people's hearts. The idea that they are psychological states, not physical places.
Make your own heaven right here on Earth.
It's a very popular sentiment. It's comforting because it gives you control.
It is. And the text argues that this is only half true.
How does it dismantle that? Because that's a pretty strong argument to counter.
The source uses a very grounded analogy. It says, sure, your mindset affects your reality. It quotes, everyone's closest friends and dearest relatives are in their minds. However,
Right.
just because you aren't thinking about a distant relative right now, does that mean they cease to exist?
No, obviously not. My cousin in Chicago is still eating deep dish pizza, whether I'm thinking about him or not. His existence isn't dependent on my perception.
Exactly. The text argues for object permanence regarding the afterlife. It says heaven and hell have an objective reality. They exist whether you believe in them, think about them, or completely forget them. It warns that absolute idealism can confuse people.
It's a call to realism. It's saying the map is real whether you look at it or not.
So if it's real, and there are 50 billion empty islands, again, what's the holdup? The text makes a pretty bold claim here. It says, actually, it is easy to go to heaven.
I feel like there's a massive but coming. Nothing is that easy.
There is. It is easy to go to heaven, but it is extremely difficult to break our obsession.
Break our obsession. That's the barrier.
It's so interesting that it doesn't list like 1,000 rigid rules or rituals. It doesn't say you have to donate X amount of money or pray X times a day.
Yeah.
It points to a psychological block. The obsession that anchors us to the front side of the paper, to use that earlier analogy.
That is profound. It implies that the only thing keeping you from those 50 billion empty islands isn't some divine judgment or a locked gate, but your own grip, your attachment to the material, the struggle, the drama of Earth.
It suggests the door is unlocked, but we're too busy gripping the handle on this side to turn it.
Well, think about what constitutes obsession in this context. It's the material needs we talked about earlier. We are obsessed with survival, with status, with accumulating things.
Right.
But if you go to a world where things don't matter because you have a non-material structure, well, if you bring that obsession with you, you wouldn't fit in. You couldn't exist there.
It's like trying to bring a bag of gold bars to a place where currency doesn't exist. It's just heavy luggage.
Exactly. We're so obsessed with the struggle on the front side of the paper, the mortgage, the status, the conflict, that we can't even perceive the backside.
So let's just recap this journey. We've gone from a map with 960 light-year coordinates to a structured universe with 27 billion small worlds.
We've seen a world with 16 suns and 35,000-year lifespans.
And we've learned about the Celestial Islands continent, with its billions of vacancies just waiting for super-celestial beings.
It really is a deep dive in the truest sense. It takes the vague concept of the afterlife and gives it physics and geography and math.
It stops being a cloud and starts being a place.
And I think that is the core mission of this text. Whether you accept the cosmology literally or not, whether you believe there are literally 16 suns or if that's symbolic, the effort to map it is what's so significant.
It transforms the abstract into the concrete.
It makes the afterlife feel like a tangible
It
destination.
makes you want to pack a bag. Or, I guess, unpack your non-material structure.
Leave the suitcase behind, you won't need the clothes, and you certainly won't need the stress.
As we wrap up, what's the one thing you want our listener to walk away with today?
I keep going back to that final point about obsession. The text paints this picture of vast available freedom, specifically freedom from worry and material constraint. And it says the price of admission is simply letting go.
It puts the ball squarely in our court. It's not about being chosen. It's about choosing to let go.
It does, and I'd leave the listener with this thought. The text says there are 50 billion uninhabited islands in the Celestial Islands continent. They're just sitting there, empty. If the only barrier to entry is breaking obsession, I want you to ask yourself, what specific obsession is currently anchoring you to the front side of the paper? What are you holding on to so tightly that you can't walk through to the back?
That is a question worth sitting with. Thank you for exploring this map with us today.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you on the next deep dive. Stay curious.